Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of TFG Radio. First episode for the new year. As you can hear, we have Danny,
Hi.
and that's it. Just me and Danny again. I'm too tired to speak Spanish this time on this all Mexican podcast. That's the lazy American half of me.
Yeah, right.
So the last episode I did was the reminders for the Las Vegas team tournament, and
How did that go?
we'll talk about a little bit about that. And then Palm Springs was literally the next following week, and unfortunately I couldn't go because my wife had foot surgery, so I had to babysit. But all good. Vegas was fine. It was again at the convention center, a different part of the convention. So there's the main hall, then there's three smaller buildings, which is buildings A, B, and C. And it was in building B at the very top floor. So if you bothered to look out the window, then you got to see basically like all of Vegas. So like far in the distance was the Strip. The other way were the mountains. But I'm pretty sure nobody looked out the window during the whole weekend. So if you didn't look out the window, you didn't notice. But yeah, so it was fine. I got in fairly quick, 3.5 hour drive. Because
not too bad at all.
no, there wasn't a lot of traffic, even though there were a lot of high winds in the like Ontario hill area.
Right.
But there was like hardly any traffic, and I didn't stop. That's the other thing. Whenever I drive, you were with me that one time. We didn't stop, right?
Yeah.
When for those that remember, when the producer kept on asking to stop to use the restroom, and I said okay, and just kept on going past each exit until we got to Vegas. So we didn't stop. I 3.5 hours. Again, stayed at the Golden Nugget, which is off of Fremont, and then just either walked or hitched a ride with Keith, one of the other judges. Keith and JD. For those that don't know JD, he is the owner of OA Games, and they do a lot of tournaments, mainly on the East Coast, North and South. So I believe he's based in one of the Carolinas. I can't remember. I'll have to have an interview with him to discuss it. But he judges a lot. Or he runs a lot of events. He judges for us at FLG, and he helps out GW because he was at Palm Springs since he was in Vegas anyway. So we had 53 teams. So one team had a bye, unfortunately.
No.
I was told we had a wait list of about 20 to 30 teams. So next year, I'm pretty sure we're doing it next year. Don't quote me on that, but I think that we'll probably have that many teams, which means we'll probably hit the 400. So this one was about 250. So we may double that next year if we get a space, part of the convention space that accommodates that many players. So it was fairly easy going. It wasn't too bad. Nothing major happened. Nothing.
No. What was the usual common questions? There's always something every event that pops up. It's just like, wow, why is this?
It's yeah. And it's weird because it's a question you're like no one ever asked this, or it doesn't come up as often. And it's almost always something different. Well, so first off, I guess I should get this out of the way because this kind of ties into the weekend. So for those that don't know, FLG is part of the NTL, and what the NTL is the National Tabletop League. And it mainly deals with team tournaments, 8 and 5 man. But but they also do singles, but it's mainly team events. It was and it's mainly centers around ATC, which is around July of every year, July August depends. And then it's just other events are added in as people that wanna be part of it. It's kind of like a circuit, like everybody else does.
Right.
Everyone seems to be doing a circuit now. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's a to me it's a kind of a pain in the ass if you're a low level like organizer trying to do it, because you have to start convincing people to be in it, and people will probably do it just because it's not that big of a deal in terms of like you just need to get a code. You don't really have to do anything extra. Like you don't have to in most circuits you don't have to buy in.
Right.
You just ask to be part of it. You put a code. You kind of like follow certain rules that they want, and that's kind of what it is. There's a lot of them popping up lately. I know of at least one, two, three, like 4 or 5, just within the last like 2 years that have popped up. So we'll see how long they last. But in any case, NTL is essentially started out as a team circuit with an 8 and 5 man, but now it includes singles and and that's run by essentially JD. And part of what JD is trying to do is to create a unified FAQ, similar for those that remember, similar to the INAT from like what 5th edition.
Yeah.
So, and 5th edition was a community. I mean, INAT was a community-driven FAQ based. I think it was Daka Daka, right?
Yeah.
It was based off the Daka Daka forum. I think it's still around. I don't know. I don't go to it. But
Yeah.
in any case, eventually, the people that ran the INAT kind of like it kind of died off, and FLG kind of took it over. But then we started basically making it our own, and then we kind of once GW took over, or we kind of stopped doing it for everybody. Everyone still uses our FAQ, but I don't think it has the same prominence at tournaments that it did when Frontline ran the ITC. So,
I mean, just for like the kind of historical context, it's the INAT existed because pretty much throughout 5th, 6th, and part of 7th, GW had no real communication with the tournament community, right? Like,
right.
FAQs and erratas would come maybe once a couple of years, and sometimes would never be errated, right? You would never have an answer to something, to a clear rules ambiguity or conflict. And so, as tournaments started getting bigger, people really did need a unified system, because it would, if you'd play an attorney in an RTT in Pasadena and an RTT in like North Carolina, you might be playing radically different interpretations of the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So the INAT was there to solve that, and when GW kind of came back and took a much more active role in tournaments and things like that, is when that started to go away, because there was, they would actually communicate, they'd actually put out erratas and
right.
things like that. But because I think it's, even now with team tournaments and things like that, there's still things that aren't always totally clear, and GW is still a large company and moves slowly. So, and the game isn't necessarily totally designed to be played in that team format way. So there's, it makes sense to kind of bring something like that back, at least, for right now, with the kind of explosion of team tournaments.
Right. So we were approached by JD, who helped us do LVO this last year for, I think it was at both of them. So about basically having the major events or major organizers come together and form this new, what do we want to call it, coalition or whatever, of FAQ outside of GW's. And then if GW happens to answer a question, all we do is just delete that question from the from our form, and it's really as simple as that. So it's it's a bunch of different organizations. The major ones you'll probably know is besides FLG would be like Nova and ATC are probably the two biggest ones. But we're constantly looking to add more people, mainly so that we cover more areas of the countries, mainly the U.S. So like with FLG, you have the West Coast essentially covered, and smatterings across the areas we do, and then we have the East Coast, and so we're talking to people. I think we're still talking to people about some of the areas in the middle, in between the flyover states, essentially, and some of the other areas that we don't have any like representation of. So going forward, we'll be using the NTL FAQ as instead of me having the clunky FAQ, and I admit it was clunky because I was lazy and I used the Google Docs with Google Sheets FAQ. So, and I bring all that up, one, because so people know, because the next event coming up is Cherokee and we'll be using it. But because we answered one question that had to do with triggering effects or effect, or what you can do when something triggers something. So like, it's like the move trigger. When something moves within X amount of inches, you get a free X amount of inches move, right? Reaction move. So what everyone normally does is, oh, well, if I have two of these abilities, I can use both abilities when this one thing happens. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, we know, and this was again brought up at Palm Springs, that at Worlds, Games Workshop only allowed one trigger reaction. The most common one was Armor of Contempt and Smoke. When someone was shot at a vehicle, something was shot at a vehicle.
Right.
So what they said was basically you can only react once to trigger. So if someone says, I'm going to shoot at your unit, now you would have to choose between Armor of Contempt and Smoke. You can't do both. And so we ruled that because that's what Games Workshop was doing at their events. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to fall in line with Games Workshop.
Right.
And in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, it probably did more harm than good because it brought up a lot of other like issues that probably nobody thought of when they made that ruling, or they thought it was fine, or it would never come up.
Right.
So it was things like blood surge. Mm-hmm. So if I like shoot at two different units, does only one unit get the blood surge? Or like the Forge Fiend was the prime example, because the Forge Fiend you can you can choose it to do devastating wounds, right? And then you could also do Dark Pact, and normal Chaos players would do both. But now you can only do one.
Yeah, that's
like for Overwatch or whatever.
Yeah, not ideal.
So, and there were other ones because a lot of people gave us examples. A lot of people were upset about it, and that was rule number 19, or we just called it number 19, number 19. Mm-hmm. And so we eventually we basically just said that we weren't going to rule it that way, that you can do multiple. That was probably the biggest question of like, hey, can we really do more than one reaction? That was probably the biggest one overall, but that was more in response to one, not an actual game mechanic or in-game question. It was more of like, can we do this now? When before we said no, but now we're saying yes. And then the following week, especially in our team chat, they're like, hey guys, watch out, because GW is saying you can only do one reaction. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's almost like we heard that somewhere else, but nobody wanted to pay attention to it or wanted to use it, but whatever. So I don't know if they'll ever officially say something, but who knows? Isn't the next update soon? Like big balance update? Or is it after Adepticon? I can't remember.
After Adepticon.
Okay, so after March.
Mm-hmm.
So the big question for me anyway had to do with heroic intervention and tank shock. So if someone says, "Okay, I'm charging my tank, and I'm going to play tank shock," and the opposing player their opponent wants to heroically intervene, the main question was like, how does it resolve?
Right.
Because both of them happen at the end of, I think it's the end of the charge move. I have to double check again, but the wording was the exact same of when it triggers. So it basically comes down to,
Priority.
whoever's the active player gets to choose priority.
Right.
But I got a few questions about that. But there wasn't anything too overly complicated that I can remember. We did still have the character question about like Calgar with his bodyguard, with Vitrix, about allocating wounds, because you can allocate wounds to Calgar if it's just him and his regular Vitrix bodyguard, not the ones that he comes with, not the ones that you pay extra for.
Right.
And this wasn't a rules question, but for those that don't know, I also get the proxy / conversion requests of like, hey, is this okay to use? Blah, blah, that kind of stuff. And over the years, it's easy to know what models or units are strong. You've seen this too, Danny, of LVO, by which models everybody wants to represent. Right. Like there was that one year, it was the Chaplain Dread, the Forge World Chaplain Dread. For this event, it was 2 models actually. It was Cato Sicarius.
Okay.
Because his ability lets him, is it redeploy? I have to look really quick. But the other one was Uriel Ventress, which is a Black Library special edition model that I don't even think they sell anymore. I think it's one of those models you only get at the store.
Right.
If I can remember. But his ability is you can pick a unit to go into to get the deep strike ability.
Right. And people don't really love giving that to what are they? The big chunky boys.
Oh, the either aggressors or centurions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Cato's ability is a reactive move, which, because we allow multiple triggers, you can reactive move, and if you're still within X amount of inches, then you can do another reactive move using a stratagem, depending on which detachment you're playing. So that's why things like the 2 trigger thing is very important, whether we allow it or not. Because it plays very much into how an army plays, right? Or how a certain unit plays, whichever unit you put Cato in. So those 2 models were the ones I got the most emails about in terms of proxies and or conversions. So none of them were over the top. Most people's conversions were pretty spot on. It's not hard to convert Space Marines to look like a captain or a lieutenant or whatever. Yeah. So, but it was good. Again, no big issues. If you're part of the beta for Best Coast pairings, there's certain functionality that you have that you don't have if you use the normal Best Coast pairings app. So there's a few things we got to check out and test out, so we can make sure things were on the level, and it worked out pretty well. And then in the end, first, second, and third. Well, first and second went to Art of War, basically, and third went to the not Art of War team.
Wow, nice.
Because they were called something Monstars or something like that. They weren't called Art of War. One was Art of War International. The other one I think was just Art of War. And then the third place team was something Monstars, but it was essentially Art of War adjacent. So they got first, second, and third. including our buddy Ben Jurek, who we know. So he already has his golden ticket at the very beginning of the year.
Nice. I mean, you got to say that's still pretty impressive for them to basically, go to a team tournament and take all 3 podium spots.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely an achievement.
I made sure to get in their group picture so it looks like I'm part of the team.
Well, Art of War's so big, you might be. I don't know.
Might be now. But yeah, so it was fun. It's I'm not a big gambler in Vegas, a Vegas gambler, but it's still just fun hanging out with everybody and all that good stuff. It was cold as fuck though. I remember one of the reasons why we moved it to fucking October. Because when I got there, it was cold, and with the wind chill, it got quote unquote warmer. But warmer is still California cold, so
yeah,
I didn't walk I walked. JD and I walked on like day 1, and then after that we just drove with Keith. Which meant we were late because Keith is always late to everything. But it was a lot of fun as always. So. Looking forward to the next event is Cherokee. It's only 7 rounds, so it's 3-2-2. So it's pretty chill. And yeah, so that's the next event in about a little less than a month. And then last weekend was Palm Springs Open. Like I said, I wish I could have gone, but unfortunately for me, but fortunately for my wife, she had to get some minor surgery. So I had to take care of that for that weekend. But it was.
God forbid you have responsibilities.
So I believe it was won by Tao.
Ooh, spicy.
Well, now they've been strong for the last few months because the winner was Durante, and he was in the top 8, I believe, at LVO in October. So it was it's not surprising. I think they're strong, but not 80% win rate strong, which is why they haven't really been touched. Just some minor point tweaks, not really too much. But I think Durante has only played like Tau. I've only ever seen him play Tau, so.
Oh, well. Something to be said about that.
Well, that plus in the finals, he was playing against Junior and Votan. And I think I watched part of that game, and I think Junior just. I don't want to say he got diced, but they didn't work for him when they needed to. In my opinion. I mean. Also, he went first, and I think the mission they were playing is better to go second. I can't remember the mission now, but I don't remember if it was Scorched Earth or not. But I think with Tau, it's better to go second for the most part. Because you go first, you're forced to, come out of your hidey holes. But more importantly, is we got the previews, which we'll go over the previews first, and then I'll let you know my thoughts on it, and then Dan, you can let me know yours.
Mm-hmm.
Boring. Not, I shouldn't say boring, but they new tanks and stuff for.
Horus Heresy, right?
Yeah, it's the big tanks and the little, the cute little whirlwind. Mm-hmm. It's funny, you know what? Oh man, this shows how old I am. So it's fun. The Horse Heresy Whirlwind made me chuckle a little bit because the actual missile pod part looks like the bottom of the old cavalry bases from the old cavalry bases. If you are able to find the magazine, back in the day, there was no Whirlwind model. So GW put out an article that showed you how to build a Whirlwind model from scratch. And part of that was making the missile pod part out of the old cavalry base. Because if you look at the cavalry base and you look at the new one for Heresy, the bottom of the cavalry base has 8 little holes. For whatever reason, that's the way they made the cavalry bases. So when you turn it upside down, they look like little missile pods.
Right.
I'll have to put up a picture while I'm talking about it when I put this episode together. So that's what this new design looks like. It looks like they took the bottom of a cavalry base and just put little BBs or something inside to look like the missiles, and that was the missile pods, which is funny. And also it calls back to that old image or that old model. But more importantly, for quote unquote Horus Heresy, is the Custodes box set, the battle group with the new sculpts for the Custodes, which you can tell they're a little bit taller, like slightly taller. They're not as chunky or as squished as some of the Custode models currently.
Right.
But most importantly, it has the plastic Gravis tanks.
Right.
Which is what a lot of players need, but it can't really get because of the price from Forge World. So someone already talked to me that they plan on buying 3 of those battle group boxes. Was it 3 or 6? I don't know. They plan on spending a lot of money, but they're going to have extra tanks, so I'm going to buy the extra tanks off of him.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. And then they come with and then the dreadnoughts will be in plastic, which is not the Telemon, although I'm pretty sure they'll come out with a plastic Telemon sooner rather than later.
Right.
But even the dreadnoughts look pretty cool. I'm partial to the one with the spear. The sword and board doesn't really excite me too much. I kind of want them to have a gun, so I kind of like the
spear's cool.
I kind of like them with the spear one. So, and then once again confirmed female Custodes, which is like, all right, whatever. I don't really care. Just
anyone who is making a very loud noise about this doesn't actually play, doesn't actually care, is a culture war tourist trying to get you to buy their stupid shit. So just remember that. Again, the people who are the loudest about this are the people who don't fucking play.
Right. So yeah, then the Venatari, the plastic guys with the wings, with the proper wings, not like Blood Angel models.
Yeah. They look cool.
Well, it's more that they're in plastic. I can see a lot of people getting these and converting them to Blood Angels.
That'd probably be too big, though. Like, just size-wise.
Maybe. But not if they're Primaris. Primaris Sanguinary Guard. I can see people do it, though. It's an easy... you're filing a bunch of stuff off and changing the color. But that's about it, I think. I think it's actually an easy conversion. And if they happen to be a little bigger, that's fine. They can't be that much bigger. They're not wearing the cones.
Right.
At least all the ones that they show in the release they don't have helmets. So I'm wondering if you plop in a Space Marine helmet, how much does it look like? Like shrunken head, or if not, you can just go unhelmeted with everybody and paint them red and call it a day.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, so everything. It all looks cool. Everyone's gonna buy it. At least that's what I'm hoping for the store. But yeah, so that one's kind of a big deal. That's probably the only big deal out of the Horus Heresy. They announced a new team for Blood Bowl. Sure. There's a couple. I think there's 1 or 2 rules I saw that I'm excited about, but that's just me. Not That's only for play Blood Bowl, and I think out of our group, I'm the only one that plays. But now it's just casually played. But the elves never excite me. I'm not a big elves fan. I just don't like elves in general. So, they showed off the newest animation. Sure, whatever. Don't care. More importantly, they showed off the next chapter of the end of edition storyline.
End of edition. Let's give you bullshit. Move on.
Yes. Yeah. For those that don't know, if this is your first edition, other than, rules churning every couple years, ever since 7th? Yeah, ever since end of 7th edition, GW likes to put out these storyline books, especially because now they're advancing the storyline when before they didn't. They put out these end of edition storylines, I call it. And it's multi-book. They usually have a lot of big models to show off, things like that. The very first time they did it, it was, I forget what was it called. But that was basically when Cadia was destroyed and they brought back Gilliman. Where is that? I have each one. It's somewhere on my bookshelf. So
I'm looking at mine right now to see if I have it. I mean, I'm sure I do somewhere.
And at that time, there were also the design team at that time was just like, hey, we'll have a detachment where you can take everything Imperium in your army. Mm-hmm. that was insane. And this is 7th edition, so it was the clunky. Oh my god! But Battle Company was still better. Free vehicles was still better. So, and then end of 8th edition, I think was Psychic Awakening, and that one wasn't very good. Is that when we got Magnus?
I forgot about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when we got Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mortarion. I don't remember. It's all a blur at this point. But, and then the end of 8th, that was the end of 8th. End of 9th was Arcs of Omen. That's what got Vashtor. Mm-hmm. And the Return of the Lion. Oh, Angron it was Angron. Also, I think that's when we got Angron.
Yeah, I think so.
And then this edition for 10th, it's basically I don't even know what it's called because they're calling it something different each time. There's no overarching name for what this is. Because I think they're spreading it around. So like the current one was 500 Worlds. I think at the time of this recording, I believe it's this Saturday when it releases. Mm-hmm. The 500 Worlds book with Titus. And then the next one is Lair of the Tyrant, which is the Maelstrom. And that's with Luft Huron, the Tyrant of Badab. And looking at what they're offering, I might have to buy it. Because, I always try to buy every book for the end of edition stuff. The only one I'm missing out of all of them is the Angron book. And that one's kind of pricey, I think. So Into the Maelstrom, and just like with the Titus, with the 500 Worlds, it's a lot of new detachments. From what they've teased, the Space Marine and a couple of the Space Marine ones and the Necron ones look pretty good. And Nightbringer looks good. And that new Necron character looks good. At least in terms of like abilities and stuff. Someone already asked me about deep striking 3 Hammerfall bunkers. So expect to see that. I don't know if we'll see more drop pods, but I have gotten more drop pod questions, or we have at NTL have seen at least a couple more drop pod and now Hammerfall bunker questions. So I guess I expect that. They announced that they looked at Prince Uriel and the new Corsairs, which includes a new Viper jet bike, which has a slightly smaller profile, but not by much, because there's no guy sitting in the back anymore.
Right.
And then they added the new what do they call them? Sky Reavers, which are basically pirate swooping hawks, essentially. I think we'll have to see what the rules actually are. But if you're familiar with the Rogue Trader era pirate elves, space elves, there's an image where they're basically look like they have wings when they're instead of like jump packs, and I think that's what this is a callback to.
Mm-hmm.
So, because originally there were no aspects. That was created it was still created during Rogue Trader, but it was after about a year or two after the initial release of Rogue Trader. So that all looks pretty cool. I know Jeff from our group, his original army, like one of the first armies he would play would be Eldar Corsairs, or he would call them that, even though they were just Eldar. So we'll see what the rules look like.
I mean, it's nice they're expanding them, because they look like I will say just visually they do look like a cool mix of, Eldari and Harlequins, right?
Right.
So they have kind of a distinct, motif, which is nice, even though it's still very familiar, right? That it's like,
right.
Obviously, it's like obviously elves. It's obviously Eldar, but it's not Craft World, right?
Right.
And I think that's cool. So, I mean, they look cool in the Uriel model. The new Uriel model looks dope as hell. So
yeah. So I'm pretty sure we'll get a lot of Eldar players buying that just to have some variety. Even if you don't use them, it's just nice to have. Mm-hmm. So I skipped over Age Sigmar because nobody cares except you, Danny. But it's just more. It's just more. People love
bone chariots. That's what they love.
Yeah, but people love chariots. The death faction.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just a sign of our times. I don't know if, or just I guess it's the same way people like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
In that death theme, like Halloween or Day of the Dead, things like that. So I think it just appeals to that morbid human fascination with death.
I'm just gonna say a lot of AOS players fall into the emo / goth demographic. So
you're saying it's a type?
I'm saying there might be some relationships in there that could be expressed.
Right. So we got more look at Huron also, and we've got to see all of his entourage, which I think I described. I don't know if it was in our chat of like they're the evil goatee Star Trek villains of Titus's command squad.
Yeah,
because he has his apothecary who looks like he really enjoys his job of removing Genesteed. Yeah. He has his own fleet captain, also a woman.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own. I guess it's the executioner.
Yep.
And then he has his own psyker or librarian, whatever you want to call him. But the big thing, I think that will have a lot of people, especially Tau players, excited is the Tyrellian dog soldier with a dog.
Yep.
Because when I tell people about it, they're like, because they've never seen it before. I'm like, oh yeah, that's from like 3rd edition, maybe even 2nd, where there's an image of the profile of the head of the dog soldier. So it's funny that they brought that back, and they actually mainly work for the Tau, but they also work as mercenaries. So I can see them working for Huron and his Corsairs.
Right.
So I plan on getting it. I will probably build a Corsair army. But I always say some things like that, so we'll see. But I do like.
True.
I will probably end up buying that box set, the Lords of the Maelstrom Battle Force, because it comes with all those new models,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more Renegade as opposed to Chaos because there's not as many. There's not as much banding
Right.
or horns. So if you like playing Chaos but you're tired of doing the trim, like
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to have or if you happen to play Thousand Suns, you know what I'm talking about, or you happen to have a Helldrake or two, then this is probably the army or the models that you want instead, or at least the pepper in. Or if you want a refresh of your army and just don't want to do all that and want them to look more renegade as opposed to chaotic, I think it's a good box set to mix in with whatever you already have. The box that comes, I mean, the Terminators that comes with it, it's just the basic Terminators, and the Trader Guard is just the Trader Guard you normally get now. The ones from Blackstone Fortress, they're just painted differently. They're painted in red,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the main regular guys, and I think you get the captain or the Reeve captain, which is a kind of a new character type. And then they also have the upgrade. If you want to stick with the spikes and the trim, then you can just buy the upgrade sprue with just the shoulder pads. But it looks good. I'll probably get a box or get one box. I have enough Terminators. I have a shit ton of Terminators. Excuse me. And then the very last thing they teased was, again, more Chaos. It looks like we're finally getting the year of Chaos. So it was just a bunch of images, but one of the main images is the Iron Warrior's shoulder pad. So that's probably the next book. And there's a lot of speculation on what each of these like models represent. So people are thinking new Defiler because of that one claw. There's the one that looks like it belongs to an Obliterator hand, except Obliterators can't have close combat weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what can? Mutilators.
It would be great if we got good mutilators.
Well, for those that don't know, is Mutilators were basically GW's attempt at Obliterators, but close combat only.
Mm-hmm.
And their rules sucked. And their models were fine cast. They're fine cast only, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they were introduced in 6th edition. And they were removed, I think, in 8th edition. When they did the reset. When they redid everything.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a box of Mutilators at Game Empire. And it was the original box they ordered when they first came out in 6th edition. And it finally sold after like years and years on that shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So everything else, they're wondering if it's like there's that little claw thing, the little flamer thing. They're wondering if that's a new warp smith. So we'll have to see what they are, but I'm assuming that that's the next thing because the rumors are that the 3rd book is called The Eye of Terror. So if that's the case, and it probably has to do with Iron Warriors versus, I'm gonna say Dark Angels, only because they were fighting the last we saw them. They were fighting Dark Angels with Vastor during Arcs of Omen. And I don't think they ever went back to that plot line. So this might be them going to bat, because at the end of the Arcs of Omen, excuse me, Vashtor actually got what he was looking for, and then that was it. Then he disappeared or traveled or whatever. And so this might be a continuation of that storyline finally, of like what happens next. And Vashtor was given a contingent of Iron Warriors to help him in the Arcs of Omen storyline. So that was it, more or less. I probably skipped over like books or something, I don't know, for Black Library. Didn't talk about really about anything else like Kill Team, although that Sunday they put out the pre-order for new Kill Team stuff. So it's just like, all right, guys. And I'm not gonna lie, that box set, not the box set, the where is it at? What are they called? Not the Sisters of Battle, but the other ones. Fell Hunters. They're pushing Night Lords hard.
They are. Like, that's part of me wondering, like, are the Night Lords going to get their own book at some point? Or are they just basically, like, Night Lords belong to Kill Team, where they make the most sense anyway?
Yeah. So they're called Fell Hunters. It's basically looks like, I don't want to say Warp Talons. It's almost like a unit of Raptors being slowly changed into Warp Talons. Because you get 6 models, half of them don't have guns or chain swords. And one of them looks like a possessed. Because he has wings coming out of the jump pack, and you can tell he's mutated as opposed to just having lightning claws like the other two. And then the other ones, one has like a giant axe, and a couple of them just have a sword or a chain sword or whatever. And sisters are sisters, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'm sure sister players love it, but I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't care. I'd be. So we don't know what rules they're gonna have, if they're gonna have any for 40K. Because the box set is called Shadow Hunt. But I can see people wanting just the Night Lords to like put something different in their Raptors / Warp Talons.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Danny, your thoughts overall about the reveals for this weekend?
I mean, I feel like they're being real coy with the fact that I think we all know that there's going to be 11th edition in a few, in the summer. And so I feel like that would have been a good time to announce. Although I understand why they don't, because like even for me, I haven't really been playing much besides schedule. Just like,
right.
Well, I'll wait for 11th edition, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff, and again, the models all look great. The rules are going to be all over the place just because they're getting ready for a new edition, so they just don't care. That's always how it goes.
Well, we'll see what these we'll see what the Maelstrom detachments look like. Because Chaos has CSM have some pretty good ones. I mean, they're not overpowered, but they're also not. They keep you competitive at least.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll see. I'll probably get more excited. I don't think Tyranids are going to factor heavily into the end of the edition. So hopefully World Eaters get something fun. It's, demons, like, there's not really going to be a demon, right? It's the demons all belong into their specific CSM.
Oh, their god book,
right?
yeah.
So, like, World Eaters,
yeah.
World Eaters Corn, whatever. So it'd be nice to see something new for that, because I really love playing my World Eaters and my Corn Demons, and it'd be nice to have another detachment that lets me put them together with a little bit more, a little bit more options and variety
right.
of what I can do.
Yeah, I actually was surprised how good it was. I thought, maybe because it's mostly Chaos, but
right.
But I thought it was like, I think them scaling back. Because remember, they had a reveal at almost every event.
Right.
It was like almost every month. And I think what happened was, GW churns out a shit ton of stuff. They have something almost every week. Almost every week.
Right.
Even when they took a break, they had something. Like, I think during Christmas, they had what was it? It was like apparel. Like, hey, buy buy this, squig sweater or whatever.
Right.
So, but in terms of models, it's almost every week at this point for some game system because they have so many. So I think, yeah, I think I talked about this before, where it was just like, is it too much? Where they have one. I mean, yeah, they didn't have one at LVO, but that's because we had two. Are they going to have one at this year's LVO? We'll see. But I think it was the right call to like scale it back. The next one's not till March, not till Adepticon, which is when they'll announce the next edition, because that's when they announced every other edition. Wait.
Right.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they basically announced it around March. I think 8th edition they announced earlier. Not at LVO, but I know they announced it earlier. Because I distinctly remember that one, because that was the same year War Machine announced Mark III.
Right.
And War Machine announced first. Oh, no, they announced later. They announced late after Adepticon. GW did. Because I remember War Machine announcing, I think it was at Adepticon, and it's, at least at our store at the time, it killed any and all interest in the game. And then GW did theirs like a month or two later. I think there was just a short window in terms of what was coming out. But it didn't have the same effect. That's a whole nother discussion. Once they do announce, we can talk about that. But yeah, so yeah, I thought it was one of the better ones, and mainly because they're not doing it as much. Because the next one's at Adepticon, and that's 2 months away. Well, 2 months away. Then the next one after that would probably be the next GW event, which I'd have to look when it is, but that's a few months away. That's not like next month. So, I think that was very good. I was very satisfied seeing what I saw. But again, it was mostly chaos, so I'm a bit biased. So, I know I should be doing this on the store. The store has a. Well, I'll do it last. We can talk about other stuff real quick. Danny, what are you up to? I don't think there's anything else GW news wise, as far as I know.
Yeah, no, not that I've seen really.
So, Danny, what have you been up to? 40K wise, or GW, or just games in general.
I mean, games in general. I've been, playing AOS and 40K with my son mostly.
Oh, okay.
Trying to get him to actually learn the rules. And now he watched Nick do a teaching game of 30K, and now he's very interested into that.
Wait, 30K?
Bothers me. Yeah, which bothers me. At least he wants to do custodes, so I'm like, well, that would be easier.
Well, I guess I know which box you're buying.
Yeah, we'll see. It gives me an excuse to use my Cobb Banda.
Oh yeah.
The kind of weird rules they have for demons. But yeah, I mean, really, it's not. I just I do get out to the store about once a week, but it's usually to play Magic, just because.
Yes, I've noticed. I've bitterly noticed.
Well, the way 40K, the kind of the 40K league works, which is how I used to play almost all my games. It's really hard for me to get all 5 games in 6 weeks done, because I really only have 3 days a week that I can play.
Right.
And so it's really hard to find 5 opponents where it's like, hey, I can really only play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights. Those are the only times I have. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the other players, where they have to really radically shift their schedule. Or, just in that boat of like, cool, you can only play on weekends. I can almost never play on weekends.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping with 11th that'll give me the impetus and get more people where I can, and hopefully in summer too, I'll have a more flexible schedule where I can actually get back to playing more.
Yeah, I found with the store, why would I go to any other store to play?
Right.
So my only limit is that we have excuse me, we have to play at my store. So there's certain people that don't want to play anywhere else except their local store. So I mean, I didn't have an issue when I did do it. So, but I can see that being an issue for someone if they don't want to like leave their area that they're comfortable with or whatever. But for me, it's just like, well, why would I go anywhere else? I mean, I guess I could go to like check out the competition, but I've been to almost every store in our area already, and I know what they're like, so I don't need to do that. But whatever. I don't even know if I'm going to play because technically I'm not supposed to because I'm a store owner, even though I'm only like a 1% store, I'm a 1% store owner. But yeah, and so yeah, if I do play in the league again, it probably won't be till 11th because, well, I don't even know if I can do it then because I'll probably do a lot of teaching games at the store, or teaching events or learn to play, things like that. So, but right now, as I mentioned, the store seems to be doing well. For those that don't know, I am part owner of a store here in Pasadena. So if you're in the downtown Pasadena area, just look up what's the name of the store?
Crown City.
Oh yeah, Crown City Games. I almost said Gameology. Don't Nick that. It's Crown City Games in Old Town Pasadena. It's right on Colorado Boulevard. It is in a basement, so you do kind of have to look for it. We're hoping to fix that, but that's going to take time to fix, depending what our plans are. And so right now we're doing okay. And when I mean okay, for me, it just means like making rent and paying bills and things like that. It's just, so. Well, it's only been 3 months. It seems like forever now. We do have like a regular crowd of like 40K players that come to play. We do a thing called Tuesday night fights, where there's different weight classes, quote unquote weight classes, and one of them is a buy-in, and then you win that pot in store credit. And it's not even like a large amount. It's like $5, I think. But then there's also like, I forget what classes he called them, but there's one that's like almost like a practice game type of thing. There's another one that's like smaller point value. So like if newer players only have 1,000 points and they're still learning the game, then they just play a quick 1,000 point game and just part of the match. But that's every Tuesday now. So, and then like you mentioned, we do have Magic and Pokemon, and I think we're out of One Piece and Riftbound right now because they're super popular. But Pokemon, Magic's the big thing right now. We do have a lot of Magic players. We have an event. We run an event like I think at least every month or every 2 weeks that gets a large number of people. So that's running well. The board games are selling. This is the first month after the holidays, so we're curious how this pans out. For those that don't know and remember Iggy from Gameology and Game Empire, he works with us, and he's saying, well, January, February is usually the slowest net. It's a slowest months because of the holidays, but we about making as much as we did during November, December, and I think that's just because there's more people finding out about the place, so they come around more. And I know, Danny, like you said, you come basically every Wednesday, I think, normally.
No,
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday. We alternate whatever days all of us can be free, essentially.
All right.
So yeah.
So Danny's there playing Magic. So yes, and the Blood Bowl League finally kicked off this last Sunday. The Kill Team League is finishing up, although they're going to start a new one probably a week or two after. The Spearhead Age of Sigmar League is finishing up. We have someone that that teaches 30K, and I think they're going to start a narrative campaign for 30K. We're going to start a narrative campaign for 40K that's going to kind of lead into the 500 Worlds campaign, because the 500 Worlds book comes with a campaign system. So I'll be running that. And then what else do we have going on? We have a Conflict 47 league going on. So there's a lot going on now. So still no one buying Legion, no one buying MCP. So we get some interest, but they kind of no one's there's not a lot of chatter. I don't know if you knew this, but we did a Beyblade tournament.
No, I did not know that.
This past, I think it was on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to see how that. It's either this Sunday or this coming Sunday. But we have one scheduled. There's one being organized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. So it's and then with 3D printing stuff, we 3D printed a bunch of bolt pistols and bolters to give out as prizes for things. Battle for LA is coming up in April, so I'll put the link in the show notes, but I have to send an email, blast email about that so people can get signed up. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels to me, it already feels like we've been around longer than just 3 months, which I guess is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I talked to Nick, and when he first comes in, it's obviously dead because no one's in yet, because it's usually everyone's at work or whatever, or
Right.
it's early in the morning. Everyone's got to do what they got to, their errands or whatever first. But by the time I get there, and when it gets to about when you get there, around 6-7 o'clock,
Yeah, it's pretty full.
it starts to get crowded.
Yeah.
We have about. I think this last Tuesday we had about four tables playing either 40K or Kill Team. Oh, people were playing Blackout, and Blackout is like a near future. Think what's the movie with Matt? Is it Matt Damon where he has a spinal injury? Elysium.
Oh, Elysium, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that with robots, and not like giant robots, but like slightly bigger than human robots. So it's kind of like near future, futuristic. No aliens. It's all humans, of course. The UN are the bad guys, technically, which means they actually do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Blackout, and it's a really quick game. It plays once you get the rules down, it's like a half hour to 45-minute game.
Nice.
Because it's a extremely low model count, like
Right.
a handful of models. There's that Baron's War, which is a historical medieval game, is very popular at the store. So we might be doing a league like a campaign for that one. So there's a lot going on. Like I said, it feels, when I'm there anyway, it feels like we've been there for, I won't say years, but we've been there for a while.
Yeah, but there's starting to be a community. I see some of the same people.
Oh yeah.
Like when I play Magic and stuff like that, or even just stop in on the weekends with my kids when they want to just browse or get some kind of small whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It always. I see people. I'm like, oh, I've seen that person here now several times, which is good. That's the sign you're building a community, and
right?
Like that.
So yeah. So we'll see. So far, so good. No complaints from me anyway. So, but yeah. So if you're in the area, just drop by, say hi. At least to Nick. Nick's always there, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. Iggy's there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Because he works 4-10. 4 days, 10 hours a day, essentially.
Right.
So yeah, so it's going well. So there's a lot of big releases coming up for both GW and for cards. I think the Mutant Turtles coming out soon.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. There's a couple. We just had one. I already forgot the name of it. This last weekend.
Laurelwind.
What was it called?
Laurelwind.
Oh, yeah.
Laurelwind.
Sure, whatever. I don't care. I let Nick and Iggy handle the card part. It's I still have the 40. I have 40K to worry about. so yeah. So, and then for me, I have Cherokee coming up, and then I get a 2-month break. No, wait, I don't have a 2-month break because I'm helping with the California Team Championship for Dice Hammer in March. So I'm helping them judge. So I'm judging. Yeah, I'm judging in February. Then in March, I'm helping with the California Team Championship. April is Battle for LA, and then May, and for my birthday, I get to go to Denver to judge Rocky Mountain Open. And then at the end of May, I think right now at this point you're going with me too, or you'll be there with me and Keith for BAO that weekend. So, and then June is Atlantic City, which I'm pretty sure will be the last 10th edition event, or one of the last, depending when the release date is. Because remember that was that one year it released right on the weekend or the week before. It usually releases around ACO time.
Right.
So I don't expect it to be any different. So it'll either be the first or the last event of that edition.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, and then after that's LSO and then LVO. So, and this assumes I don't do anything else. So you never know.
Which knowing you will.
It depends for the right price. I'm very mercenary in that regard. In this economy.
Right.
Yeah, so in terms of armies, if I go in on the Maelstrom stuff, I'll probably basically build a new. I'll either build an Astral Claw army or just add to my Black Legion. But I may just build Red Corsairs only because I want the Huron models. So if I'm gonna have the models, I may as well have his army.
Right.
So it should be good. And I have a lot of spare Chaos Space Marine stuff, so I can easily add to it. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'll probably build it for 11th, maybe. So yeah, we'll see. But I think we'll call it there. It's been about an hour, roughly. I don't know when our next episode will be. We're kind of hit and miss nowadays. So I may do I may talk to JD and just have interview JD separate, like I mentioned earlier. But we'll see. It's wherever the winds take me. There's a lot going on right now. But I plan to, at least, I don't know, we may have to switch it like once a month the way things are going right now. So
Right. We'll figure it out.
it'll be fine. But Danny, any last words before we head out?
Play games, be nice to each other, and you can do all that at Crown City Games. And
Look at you. You're always a good shill. For yourself and your friends.
Yep.
Because I always forget that stuff. I'm horrible at marketing. I'm really
Check out
bad.
their Instagram where they post things every
Yeah,
day.
there you go. See, that's why I have
Join the
Danny.
Discord.
And Danny hates that part of the business too. You're better at it though.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for listening as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that good stuff, whether it's a podcast or on YouTube. It just helps us out and gets the word out, especially if you plan to go into FLG events. I do put out, if you look at some of our older episodes, I do put out things like reminders, what's going on, what's changed for things like LVO, the LVTT, Cherokee, all the FLG events. So make sure you subscribe so you can keep on tabs of what's changing and what's going on with those events at the very least, and what's going on in our little 40K world. But again, thanks for listening. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Laters.